You know, I'm still standing better than I ever did. Looking like a true survivor.
Oh, look who I found.
Like a little
Lisa Webb, Third Street Realty. You've been a Good morning. How is your sinuses today?
They're as crappy as yours.
You have been busy lately. And, you know, I got to see you with the Little Black Book Women in Business chapter recently and talked to you a couple months ago. But now we're starting a brand new segment.
Yep. Ready
where
to go.
we get to learn about the real estate process. And I like this. And we were talking on the phone, Lisa, and, you know, whenever we try to find partners with the show and we try to find people that really, you know, fit the branding of the Daily Show, it's my biggest thing is let's not find that big corporate, you know, franchise that's all commission based and you're kind of just rifling through and not really educating. And you guys really do take education to the highest degree over with Third Street.
Yeah, we really try. That's one of the mottos that we sort of picked up as we were going. It's a good model for us to say what we won't do is tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
What we will do is educate you what you need to know, because that's a big deal. And education is key. You need to know what's going on. This is your biggest investment. Or your biggest investment you might be losing. So you need to know, you know, what's going to happen and the steps with that.
Well, yeah, and especially right now, it's so easy to get kind of misguided, I think.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you put, you know, you sign up for a Zillow account, then you're pre-approved for about 40, you know, home loans that you don't even know what company they are. I still get calls, and I go, guys, I don't even know where you're located.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we're in Wisconsin. We're in...
Yeah, and that's not uncommon.
Really?
For Zillow, you know, because Zillow does their own lending too. So I've actually had a Zillow lender that I had a buyer that was using them. And we were lucky enough that it went okay. But it was education, though. I stayed on top of the lender, asked questions, and informed everybody, you know, but you don't. When you do those type of things, you get whoever is paying for that ad to reach
You're
them.
right.
That's who you get.
Well, and that's kind of scary, too, especially with, you know, from my perspective, you know, I'm just trying to look to see if there's any property or any house that might fit a budget or might, you know, work. Yeah. And it's like, well, you're pre-approved. We ran your numbers and, you know, I filled out a little form. I didn't know. I was just doing what the app said and boom. Here's a $140,000 pre-qualifier. I'm going, no. I host a local morning show. I'm not there.
That ain't happening. Yeah, no, and that's true because you just plug in some numbers. It doesn't go through an official underwriting or anything like that. It's just based on a guide, and so then automatically it'll generate somebody to call you and say, here you are. You're welcome to your mansion, and you're like, oh no.
Well, that's what happened. This poor guy's been calling me for 3 months. And I go, listen, pal, I don't know where you got the numbers from, but I am not qualified for a $180,000 house. But so when did your real estate journey begin as an agent?
So in 2015, corporate America is where I came from. So primary healthcare, HR is where all of my experience came from. And in 2015, my husband had Guillain-Barré syndrome, and so he just decided, let's just turn our life upside down. So at that time, we weren't sure where our lives were going to go because if I had to be his primary caregiver, I couldn't do corporate America, you know. So after he got stabilized to where he needed to be, he's like, why don't you look into doing real estate? And I'm like, I don't know, you know, that's a lot. It's commission based and we're not sure where things are going to head. So we did. I all the money I had, I put into my classes and drained our account and said, okay, I'm going to do it. And so then I became a realtor, and then 5 years later, I became then a managing broker. So that's what brings us to today. But, you know, when it's either you're going to jump in and you're going to go all the way, or, you know, the likelihood of realtors not succeeding is very high. So,
right. I've noticed that. It seems like that. I was reading something the other day. It might have been on Wallet Hub of professions where it's just so saturated that you have to be, you know, educated. You have to be very diligent and hard work, and otherwise.
Yeah. Usually within the first 6 years, a realtor will back out, because unfortunately you have HGTV and you have all of that now and all the investments and it paints it as a lucrative, pretty great, let's do this, it's easy. And then they get into it and they're like, oh, it's not.
You're so right. And I hate to say this, but when I had the delivery company, I was sitting there and at the time when my girlfriend at the time were watching HGTV and I had this bright idea. Why don't we have a production crew and we could, do this?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my old job, there's an individual that is on HGTV and it is not as glamorous as they make it out to be.
No, it's not. So it's you got to be in it. You got to understand. Yep. And there's a lot of part-time agents out there. Nothing against the part-time agents, but you got to stay on top of your education. You got to be informed with what's going on with your market. And that, for us as full-time career realtors, that's what we do.
Right.
And so my husband and I is like, okay, we're going to make this work because I'm not going back to corporate America and I'm not going through all those testing again.
No.
You have to do your state and your federal, and I'm not a great test taker, so I have to really focus. And it's like I'm never going through all that again. So we're in it. We're going.
That's great.
So yeah.
Well, and with that being said, it seems like the last couple of years have been kind of really tricky in the real estate market, especially in your guys' perspective, because it seems like interest rates fell so low that everyone was buying property left and right.
Yeah, and it's true. And the sad part about it was not only did it, in my opinion, it hurt our market because now people think that that's a norm.
Yep.
And it's not. That's not a norm. And then you have the agent side where everybody wanted to be an agent. Oh, I'm going to get my license. And they didn't have to do anything because houses were just flying off left and right, multiple offers. Well, now that things are starting to shift and get back to normal, the way things are, it's not as easy as what it's perceived to be. Now you got to work. And, you got to do that.
The gold rush is over, huh? Yeah. And that's a great point because now I wanted to ask you about this too because we always see, rates are going back up, but historically we're still kind of low.
Yeah. So when I started, I was looking at the numbers a while back. When I started in 2015, 2016, the interest rates were 6.25, almost 7.
Wow.
So we've gone all the way down, and now we're coming back to really the norm, and keep in mind, back whenever I bought my first house and some of our parents bought their houses,
right.
I mean, the interest rates were 12, 13, 20%, and that was normal.
Right.
So I don't, in my opinion, it's not ever going to go that low again. But right now, it's still a good time to buy. And unfortunately, our inventory is super low, so there's not a whole lot to look at. But it is still, interest rates are still good.
You keep segueing it back perfectly because, a part of the whole thing with Zillow, and I was telling you a little bit about it on the phone this guy seems like it's from a reputable company, whatever, maybe just got wrong information because, whenever you're ready do you find anything you like? I go,
yeah, where?
Let me know where you find it because there ain't nothing around here right now.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah, there's great property. This is what happens when you don't have that hometown, wisdom too. And what I like about something, and people know my background, my grandpa had rigged and sewer service, my uncle owns it now, so family business is a big part of me. And that's what Third Street Realty really is. I mean, you're woman-owned, but you're family operated, which I love. Yeah. I mean, and it's really cool to say that you're working with your community. You're going to see, Lisa Webb out at Schnucks after she just sold you or helped you buy your first house.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Third Street, it is, I'm the designated managing broker, but my husband plays a big part. Our grandson, Benjamin, he's a senior in high school. He comes up to the office and he helps. And, all of our grandkids, they know that grandma's a realtor. So, I want to go work at the office, or they've gone on showings with me, or they've had to sit at open houses when they were little. So it's just the way we are. Everybody knows, that if you're a realtor family,
yep.
Everybody's on deck, That's basically how it is. And so that, that is how we operate. And then the two agents that I have, which we're always looking for for new agents.
Good, yes.
So anybody that's looking, to learn about a career, they please feel free to give me a call. But I have Kimberly Hunt and I have Lisa Chaney, and they're 2 agents, and they have the same values as we do. So, that's important. They
Right.
get it, and they understand that families first. And we have our assistant, Rebecca Ramirez, and so she's new to the team, and, she has 4 kids, and so she gets it. And I actually sold Rebecca and her husband Jameson their first house.
Oh, what?
So,
That's even cooler. And that's what I think is so cool about what you guys do and what you do specifically is that kind of connection, where it's, now you have some former clients working for you now.
Yeah. Well, and the great story about that is because I live in Bunker Hill, even though I have an office in Bunker Hill and in Edwardsville, and I service everywhere under the sun, but I live in Bunker Hill. And so our summer softball baseball league, they were looking for sponsorships for the trophies. So Third Street Realty sponsored all the trophies for the kids last year. And so Rebecca's kids played ball, and she saw Third Street Realty on the trophies, and she's like, well, they're here local, and they gave back to the community, so she gave us a call.
Wow.
Yeah.
To me, Lisa, you just hit on the biggest thing, and that's to me is that personal touch, because so many times it seems like no shade to any competition or anything, but it's just sometimes we lose sight of that because we get in our own lane and we put the blinders up and we're going, but to be able to say, what, I sold a house because I did sponsor that little
exactly
league team.
and that's what she said. She said that she didn't know who I was, I didn't know who they were, but she saw that we gave back to the community, and so that's one of the reasons. And this year Third Street Realty is the first year that we're doing a scholarship for a senior there in Bunker Hill. So we're doing a $500 scholarship that will go to a graduating senior, and hoping to continue that every year. So it's all about the give back.
Wow, you're really building something.
Trying, yeah, it is. I mean, that was one of the things whenever I started in the business. It's you got to give back to the people because if it's not for them, we're not going to be there.
Well, you're right. That's the same thing that was reiterated to my family hundreds of times.
Yeah.
It's, those are the ones that are paying the house note, and it makes total sense. And I got to ask you, grandkids, are they looking at a real estate future?
Well, Benjamin is my senior, so he asked me the other day about it. Because they changed the age requirement. It used to be 21. Now you can be 18.
Oh, can you?
And you
Wow.
can be 18, but you have to graduate from high school. So I told him, I said, Ben, you're getting ready to graduate. You can get your license. He's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, I don't know. I'm like, nothing yet. But I you never know though. The grandkids are from ages 17 all the way down to George's 2. So
so you got a pallet.
Oh, I got 9.
There you go.
We have 9 grandkids. So somebody in there somewhere surely will probably get into the real estate world.
And another thing that I love about what you guys do too is there's a dynamic of different properties for every need, for every person. And what I think is really cool, especially for my age group, I don't know if you realize this, we haven't talked about this before. I have like a dozen kids I went to high school with that are in the process and have been doing for quite some time, flipping houses.
Yeah,
and
good for them.
I didn't realize how young some of these individuals are that are going, and they're finding a way to get this property obtained. They're working some stuff out, and then sometimes it goes well, sometimes
it doesn't.
So you aren't going to be able to gamble for a few weeks.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
But it's amazing to me the use that my generation's really having for these properties, and I've seen a couple on your site that I go, actually, you can make these look really beautiful, and especially the way the housing market is right now, it seems like to get a good deal, sometimes that might be the way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and investment property comes in all shapes and sizes, and we've done anything from a $500 sale to $500,000. So it just depends on what somebody's looking for. There's something for everybody, and I go into it looking at the houses that are in the worst shape are the biggest challenges, but there's nothing more gratifying than seeing them all fixed up and put back on the market and sold to a family. I mean, you just look at it and go, oh my gosh, look at what they did. And now a family's there making memories. So.
Well, you're so right, because there's times where I know folks that, especially in Alton, that their family grew up in a certain house and it got run down because of just time and different folks coming in, and all of a sudden they drive by after someone flips it or they remodel and they go, wow, that looks better than when I was a kid, you know, or, you know, it takes them back. And you're on both sides of this. I mean, you help people short sell their property, which is obviously a really stressful situation and nerve wracking, but on the other side, you help people, you know, invest in that, you know, potential flip.
Yeah.
Now, take us through, because when I hear short sale, I'm still learning about this, and we're going to learn together.
Yes. we will be here for several episodes. No lack of knowledge to share there.
No.
So, yeah, the short sale process is not a short time frame. It's actually a long time frame. I actually have an estate that I just started a short sale beginning on now. The daughter's father passed away, and we're trying to sell it so at price so it doesn't go into a short sale. But if it comes in what we have, if it's less than what we have to have for payoff, then it's going to go into a short sale. So once we start the short sale, then we have to get approval through the lender, through the bank. The seller doesn't have a say in anything. So you have to go through all these steps of even getting that initial approval. However, it's still better than letting the home go into foreclosure. Now, in this case, it's an estate, but say it wasn't an estate, don't let your home go into foreclosure. Do the short sale. It's not going to be as hard on your credit. You're not going to be expected to have to pay back the difference. Some foreclosures, you could get sued to pay back the difference. I don't think people understand that the bank does have that right. So stay tuned for more information on that. We have a lot to cover education-wise, but there's so much that people don't understand, and we do both sides. So
well, and that's a huge point, because whenever we were talking, and I went through your brochure when you brought it to me, I mean, you type this information up and it's available. I mean, and that's what I think is so important, because you know, when we see, you know, a lot of realtors and a lot of their pages, we see this, you know, $1.3 million mecca house because that's what gets the clicks on Facebook. But, you know, the ones that really, you know, I think are the most important services are like this, because, you know, anyone that's ever known anyone in that knows that it's a dark tunnel that you're going, how do I get out of this? Who's going to help us? And
and just think about it. Those people that purchased that house that's now going into foreclosure or into short sale, several years ago, they were happy, having a good time. They were buying their first house or whatever the case is. And now everything is just gone. And like you said, you'll start going down that rabbit hole and you can't get out unless you have somebody that can educate you and say, here's where we need to go. It may not be the prettiest picture, but how can we salvage where we're at with things now?
Right.
So
well, and I'm sure that you have just dozens of, you know, cases like that, or clients where you're going, you know, here, let's navigate this the best we can and hope, you know, and hopefully it turned out well. But I got to ask you, you know, when you first started, is it nerve-wracking? So when I first did this show, the first episode wasn't nerve-wracking because we didn't know what the hell was going to happen. We're going, let's just turn it on and see what happens. You know, we had a little laptop that didn't work too well and all this stuff, but obviously we're doing better now. But that first sale, that's got to be nerve-wracking, because
I remember my first client, and I won't say his name on the air, but he still lives in the Alton area in the house that I sold him.
Oh, wow.
But I was driving, and he called, and he was a friend of my husband's. And he said, hey, this is such and so, and I'm looking to buy a house. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. And I'm like, how did you reach me? He goes, well, I know your husband, Grover. I'm like, oh, okay, great. Okay. I feel better because he's, you know, he knows us. But then as soon as I hung up the phone, I called my managing broker at the time. I'm like, oh my gosh. And then I called my husband. I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy just called. I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do? Where do I go? What do I do? And I'll never forget him to this day. He was my very first buyer's client. And, you know, it was just, you'll remember that forever. And the nerves was just
through the roof.
Unbelievable, you know. But yeah, he still lives in the same house that I sold to him. And, you know, I still send him, you know, cards and things like that. So
that's incredible. Now, I want to ask you this too. What is the most time-consuming part of the buying process?
The buying process, I think the most time-consuming right now is just really finding that perfect house. You know, buyers don't. It's when you're a first-time home buyer, and you'll know because you're going to be going through this process. You're not sure what you want. You know, when I had a lot of buyers at one time, they were like, we narrow it down up front.
Right.
Tell me your must-haves. Tell me what's deal breakers. Tell me where you want to live. Why? Is it a school district? Is it whatever? And then we get going through the process, and sometimes we're like totally away from where we were. And I'm like, we didn't even talk about this area. But, you know, they just start thinking about what really fits their family, and things change. So I think that's the most time consuming, is finding that right area, the right homes to go look at.
Yeah.
And then after that, getting them to pull the trigger. That's a hard thing to do. Are you ready? Because once we hit go,
we're going. Well, and see, now that's, to me, when I look down the pipeline, I know that'll be me, because it's like, oh yeah. It's like the guy guys do this better than anybody, because I've always said, when two, guys in high school get into a fight, they throw the first one and then they go, all right, pull me out. Well, that's kind of how I feel this would be for me, because it's like you're ready to go, you're excited, and then all of a sudden the realization of, oh, okay, here we are.
The good thing is, though, is one of the things that we do up front with our buyers is I list out as many expenses that could come along, so they
huge.
know what to expect. I even ask them, tell me about your pay dates, because if we need to pay for inspections around pay dates, we need to make that work. It's stressful. I don't want it to be stressful. So the more information I can give them to help them understand what's going to be expected, the better it is going to be for them. And it's hard. It's hard for a stranger to get to know, like, and trust somebody enough to go, here's all my banking information, and here's how much I make. And I tell them up front, I want us to have that relationship that you trust me.
Yep.
Because things are going to be coming out anyway, so let's talk about it up front.
Well, you're right, because if I can't trust you, well, we're going to have to get this information eventually, so let's be transparent and make this trust is going to make this easier. You
have to know, like, and trust the person that you're working with. And if for some reason there's a lack in the communication, talk to them about it. If I'm not showing you or giving you what you need, don't go jump to another realtor. Talk to me. Let me know. Hey, Lisa, I'm missing this. Let's have this conversation. Because I'm trying to put time and effort into you to help you, and I want you to have that satisfaction. I don't want you to have to go and jump to somebody else and say, well, they didn't do it. Well, tell me what we're missing.
That's a huge point. I mean, a really big point. And with that being said, as you're kind of navigating, and you're looking and you're meeting with people, what's when you're in that process, what are some of the holdups? Because I know sewer is a big thing now. Is the sewer inspection. Now, was sewer always you had to have that done, that inspection, or was that recent where that started coming?
I would say whenever I first started, of course, our home inspections was always the main thing,
right? And
then they would do the wood insect inspections, like your termites and things like that. That was always a main thing that we looked at, and then sewer was. Yeah, it's at your discretion, and radon is at your discretion. Okay. And so then after I had a buyer that we had a sewer inspection done, and we found the Orangeburg.
Oh,
and
paper mache.
Then we were given a cost, and I saw this, $10,000 cost.
Yep.
And so then after that, as I was learning, I'm like, okay, I need to educate my buyers that here's why I'm asking you to consider doing a sewer inspection, $10,000 after closing, because we didn't check something that maybe would cost $150 now.
You're right.
Because money's tight when people are buying a home. And I get it. And you try to save money when you can. But I have to explain to them, it's either $150 now for an inspection or $10,000 after the fact. because we didn't catch it.
Well, and I've been in that situation just on the other side cleaning them, and it's like, these couples are excited because they're getting ready, and all of a sudden your sewer's broke.
Yeah.
Well, wait, what? Well,
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it's like, it's the worst thing, and it stinks, but that's why I want somebody like you to be there on this process with me, because I know about sewer just because of firsthand experience. I wouldn't know about that if I didn't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And most first time home buyers don't.
Right.
They don't get, I need to check all this stuff. No, I don't have to do it. I'm just going to move in and start my life. And they don't understand that there's some hidden things there that we can't see. So don't take that risk.
Yep.
Have them checked out up front.
And now, has there been a property or a client where you thought there's no way this is going to work? Maybe that he's, he or she is way out in left field with what they want for their price point,
Yeah. I mean, we've all had those, and they're very common, believe it or not.
Right.
But then, once you start going through the process, they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's all about doing your, your prerequisites, the things that you're telling them up front. And they're like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that, because they don't know that. They don't see that on TV. They don't see that on Zillow. They don't get that. They just see this house, and I can do it. I can afford it, and let's really look at that.
Well, that's what I was kind of asking. And then, and the flip side of that, were you able to meet the ultimate goal and get that taken care of?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it all goes back to whenever we're with the buyers and we're going down and we're explaining what their payments are going to be. So what I say to them, and I ask them, like, let's think about this. You and Sally Joe are buying a house today, and we're going to pay XYZ because this is what you feel you can afford. This is what your payment's going to be. So now let's think ahead a little bit. What if something happens tomorrow? What if an emergency comes up? Somebody loses a job or something worse. How are you going to afford to live here? Can you make it? Or if you have to sell it, are you equipped to bring money to the table?
Yep.
And they're like, well, no. And then I'm like, okay, then we need to have a serious conversation, because you don't want to lose your house. You want to be able to afford to live where you buy. And they're like, oh, I never thought about it that way, especially when the market was super crazy.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And people were paying $10,000 to $20,000, if not more, over asking. I had a lot of buyers that were willing to do that, and I had to bring them back off the cliff. And I'm like, look, let's have this conversation.
Oh, wow.
If you want to spend $30,000 over the asking price and something happens tomorrow, do you have that extra money to bring to the table if you have to sell it? And they're like, well, no, absolutely not. I'm like, then we're not going to do it. Wow. I'm not going to just let you do that. I mean, I have to if they say, well, you're my agent, this is what I want to do. I'm obligated, but I'm also, but I'm also obligated to educate them properly on what really should be done.
I never even thought about that with last year, because you're right. I mean, I was hearing people were even 30 over asking price. And I mean, that's not an easy conversation to have with somebody to go, listen, I know that this is great for you, but it's really not great for you.
Yeah.
Now, to me, that's the most important part of what you do is the honesty and the transparency, because I'm sure there's some realtors that go, oh, yeah.
No, well, there was a lot of people that spent $30,000 over.
Yeah, and they take the commission and they run, and I'm not picking on them, but it's...
Yeah, but, it's sort of like bells and whistles.
Yes.
Unicorns and rainbows. It's like, oh, it's so pretty. Oh, my gosh. There's just so much going on. And then after you're done, you're like, oh, no, what did I just do? And I don't want to be that brokerage where they go, well, Third Street Realty... They let me do it, and now I have buyer's remorse. I want to make sure that our agents educate them thoroughly with, here's why we would recommend this.
Right.
Do it that way.
So we've talked a little bit about your short selling, your foreclosures, talk about the first-time home buying. Is there something else that we haven't hit on that we need to? Because I know you do estates too, or estate sales, right?
Yeah, so estate sales is something that just sort of fell into our lap, how that goes. But it sort of goes hand in hand with, you have an estate, the family, and it's more so where the person's passed away, there isn't a lot of family involved,
Yep.
and they just want to walk away.
Yep.
So that's what we mean by our estate sales. It's not like we're taking this stuff and doing the auction. We don't do that. It's more so the families that are like, we're upset enough. We have a lot going on. I don't want to deal with it. Who can we call? Well, you'll call Third Street Realty. We'll handle making sure the estate sale goes. We'll list the house. We'll sell the house. We'll do everything one-stop shop for that.
Wow.
We do that, and that's sort of something that fell into our laps, and we're newer to it, but, it's a learning process, and it's all about the compassion, though, and I think that goes back to working in the healthcare field. I did home health and hospice, so you just sort of, have to have that compassion, and that's another avenue where we can give back to the people and compassion. So
wow, I'm telling you what, I'm just a huge fan. And what else? Other services do you provide? Did I hit on all?
So
of these?
now we do sell nice residential property as well.
Oh, well, yeah, and that's the thing, and that's a good thing.
And acreage.
Yeah.
I have properties that have acreage, and we do the nice residentials and everything. We do handle that. Kim, she currently, and it's sort of a fluke how things happen, but she has like 4 duplexes right now that are in the Collinsville, Belleville area.
Wow.
That all of a sudden she calls, she goes, I got another duplex, and I got another duplex. I'm like, okay, great. So, she's our multifamily specialist. She handles those. So we can do all avenues.
Well, it's a great, and actually, thanks for bringing that up, because with RiverBender, with you being a featured realtor, we go and we have properties on there that are from your site.
Your community loves my properties.
Listen,
It's okay.
no, and that's why I'm glad you brought it up, because whenever we go through, it's just a random thing. It picks something and it rotates through and shows folks what you have and the inventory, but there are a lot of nicer properties that you have too. So just because the first one just kind of grabbed a different one, it just got the palate wet. It got some clicks at least. But and we talked about that. Yeah.
It's you got to have somebody represent those ugly houses too.
But it's also good to know, and I'm thank you for bringing that up, that it's not just those. It's not just it's for great property as well, and for the $1 million homes, you can take care of those.
Yeah, I mean, when we get into the more traditional residential, we do the professional photography, we do the drone footage, we do all of that. We'll do staging if we need to, so we handle those customers the way they should be, and then we handle our foreclosures the way that needs to be handled. So
it's that tailored fit package. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
You can't ask for anything better, because there's not a one size fits all for real estate.
There's not. Absolutely not.
And it seems like when I go on websites, it kind of seems like they push their clients into that. Well, that brackets is what I call them, where it's like, oh, you're in this bracket. Well, they're in this bracket. Yeah. Well, you aren't with Lisa Webb. You're just going to be a client that you're going to help.
Yeah. We'll do what we need to do, and it doesn't matter if it's a $500 house or if it's $1 million house. We will adjust what needs to be done to accommodate that house. It's all about making sure that house tells the story and getting it out there so people will go, I want to live there, so.
Well, and you're there to be our advocate, too, during the process, because you need that. You need someone that's going to stick up for a client and say, hey, no, we got to have this done, we have to have this done, but there's a lot to talk about with Lisa Webb, and we're going to be talking about it for quite some time. I'm really excited to welcome you on here because, like I said, there's things that I look for in what we have on the show, and I never wanted somebody to feel like, oh, CJ just has the bigger franchise and they just want to sell commission. No, I have an educational tool right in front of you, and Lisa Webb with decade of experience and a great family operation, woman-owned but family operated.
And I do need to add, because my children always tell me, Mom, you never talk about us. You only talk about the grandkids. I do have 3 grown children as well. Kristen, Amanda, and Zachary. But they've helped in many ways throughout the business as well. So there's your plug, guys.
If it makes you feel any better, we're the same way in my family. Once you have kids, it's kind of just the grandkids are.
It's all about the grandkids, So, but that's what makes us us. It's all about our family and making sure, because everybody has a family of some sort, you know, and you want to make sure that they're being taken care of.
You're absolutely right. And Lisa Webb and Third Street Realty, her family will help yours every step of the way. And we'll be back in, the next couple of weeks doing our first actual segment. And this is where I give you guys a call to action. You guys have any questions you want to ask? If you have anything on your mind related to the real estate market, send them in.
Yeah.
Because I'll send them to Lisa and I'll say, hey, Lisa, here's what's gotten sent to me. What should we talk about this week? Can we answer some questions? And if you have live questions during the segment, I'm sure we can try to find a way to answer those.
Yeah.
It's just your educational tool powered by Third Street Realty.
Absolutely.
And really appreciate it, Lisa. I'm really excited for it. I told you we'll talk just for a couple of minutes today just to get their pallets wet.
Yeah. Good, the bad, the
35
ugly.
minutes later, we're still talking because I just love working with you and love talking with you so much. ThirdStRealty.com. That's ThirdStRealty.com. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
No problem. Thank you.
Take a quick break. It's 9:50. We'll wrap up the 9 o'clock hour and talk to Ann Davis at Alton High School. On the 10 o'clock, a lot happening on this daily show.